Alright guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be having a look at my haunted project. Now the reason I want to take a look at these guys is my last video, the Sam and Colby video where they are at Pendle Hill. I realised that this particular location was run by the My Haunted Project team. Now those of you that don't know who the My Haunted Project team is, they used to have, well they still do have, a YouTube channel, and they've recently gone over onto Prime as well. But they've bought 4 locations, 3 in the UK and 1 in the USA. So we've got the Haunted Hotel, we've got the Pendle Hill Farmhouse here, which we're going to be checking out. They've also got Bodmin Jail, and they've also got a place over in the States, the Haunted Manor. So essentially they're just setting these up for investigators to go and visit and do investigations. They do have 24/7 surveillance on these places, and there's been a lot of controversy around them before, saying that they staged the activity, they set things up. So we're going to check them out today. We're going to have a look at their Pendle Hill. Essentially it's an advertisement for that location, so we're going to take a look at them and see if we can find any foul play. I mean, they're adamant that they don't fake things, so let's have a look and see if I can see any shenanigans at play.
I swear to God, I'll pistol whip the next guy that says shenanigans.
Hey Farva, what's the name of that restaurant you like with all the goofy shit on the walls and the mozzarella sticks? You mean shenanigans? Oh!
So let's grab the old phones and let's take a look.
These 2 elderly women sold their souls to the devil in order to receive special abilities.
This is just one of those moments I don't think we can explain here.
The wardrobe just moved! Guys, the wardrobe just moved. What the fuck was that?
Ooh. So those of you that don't know about Pendle Hill is in the UK. It's in Lancashire, if I'm not mistaken. And in 1612, 400 odd years ago now, 12 people were arrested for witchcraft, being witches, and 10 of them were actually executed. And ever since then, there has been hundreds of stories of paranormal sightings and strange goings on. So over the years, it has been a hotspot for paranormal investigators to investigate.
Guys, we have arrived in Pendle and we are making our way over to our 400-year-old farmhouse to see what's been going on. And there has been some insane stuff happening, but we are just near New Church.
Insane stuff happening. So, from what I know, the farmhouse that they have brought, there hasn't been any other accounts of paranormal activity going on here. There's not even any evidence to support that any of the witches that were executed and the families involved had anything to do with this house. So have they just essentially bought a random house in the Pendle area and set it up for anyone to go and visit? I mean, a 400-year-old house, it's definitely worth an investigation, especially in the area of interest. But are the things that happen here explainable? Are they going overboard, trying to convince everyone it's haunted? Well, let's see if some of the things they've captured hold any weight.
And we are at the valley, which is the epicenter of the Pendle Witch story. This is where the likes of Bullhole Farm and Lower Wellhead Farm all exist. And it's just insane when you sit here on this part of the road coming into main Pendle. You've got New Church up the hill, and then just there in the valley, it is all just there, and it really does put you into that time period, and the atmosphere, especially on a day like today where it's chucking it down with rain, the mist is everywhere. There is no more an atmospheric place than this caravan.
No, I agree. Just looking across this valley now, knowing this is where the Pendle Witch is.
I'd like to know why I'm hoping it's his nickname is Caravan. Very strange. But yeah, cool location, cool area. I'd imagine it does get pretty creepy there at night. But are they just trying to create an atmosphere for the sake of creating an atmosphere to get the bookings rolling in? Yeah, I'm excited to see what they've captured so far in this building.
Walked, where they farmed. You know, are we seeing the location here of that famous lane where the familiars appeared and where this guy kind of collapses once this witchcraft occurred? It fascinates me.
We are going to take a little drive round now, guys, and we are just going to give you some of the insight into what happened in 1612 and where it happened, because when we talk about Pendle, this isn't just about our farmhouse. This isn't just about the My Haunted project or what we're doing with the 24-hour surveillance. You can't investigate this place without looking at what happened and where it happened. So,
I mean, I do like the idea, what they're trying to do here. They're in a location, they set up 24-hour surveillance to literally monitor the house all the time. I do really like the idea of what they're doing. But if they're just buying a property and faking activity to get tickets sold, then yeah, I don't stand by that. So again, let's wait to see what they've captured.
Come and join us, and we are going to delve into what happened in 1612. To drive round this location, it's extremely windy roads. There's not a lot of room. Pendle Hill itself is just to the right over this brow, and our farmhouse is over to the right as well. But as we come down this road, we are going to get a real good view of this valley where everything, and I'm literally saying everything, happened. This is where the Bulcock family were. This is where the Southerns lived, and Shattucks and Whittle. The Whittle family would have lived as well. So here we are.
Yeah, but who lived in your farmhouse? That's what I want to know. Is your farmhouse linked to all of those properties as well? Do you have any evidence of that?
Just ahead of us here, this is Lower Wellhead Farm. Now in Lower Wellhead Farm, I did a lockdown in there back in 2020 and I captured a full-bodied apparition in that house. Now that house used to be a morgue. Over to the left-hand side.
Okay, so that just undoes everything, doesn't it? So how the hell are we supposed to believe anything that goes on in your farmhouse when you've just faked that? I mean, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. This is how easy it is to fake, right? I'm going to recreate that almost perfectly. Give me a minute. Okay guys, so I've gone into my editing software here. So we've got their video up the top that we just saw, their clip. Okay, the My Haunted project, that's their one. Now I've done my own version at the bottom here. And all I've done is I have got a figure and a green screen. I've removed the green screen and I've played with the size of the figure to get it looking the same size. And then I've just masked out here, the line in the door here, and the line of the frame, the door frame here. Okay, so I've got two of the same image, and I've cut out of the door frame here. So actually you're looking at two images here. We've got an image behind my image just showing the crack in the door, and then the right and the left is a completely different video, the same image though. So I can get the effect that the shadow is walking past the door. So if I keep going back and forward, their one at the top and my one at the bottom. It looks exactly the same. In fact, I thought when I was looking online for the green screen figure that they used, I thought I'd actually found the same one, because it moves at the exact same speed. Even the way the feet move looked the same as well. So that's how easy it is to do, guys. I mean, I haven't even done green screening before, and I was quickly able to recreate the exact same thing that they did here. So it's 100% fake. 100%. You can see how similar that my version is compared to theirs. It's so easy to do, guys. It is so easy to do. And I mean, I just learned how to do that 10 minutes ago, and I was able to recreate it almost one for one. So like I said, how are we supposed to believe any of the stories? I mean, we can believe the factual stories that have been told about the Pendle area, but anything that happens inside their house, we're just going to have to assume that it's all been made up, because the fact you have faked activity there, an apparition walking across a door, I'm not going to believe anything else you say now. But let's carry on anyway and see what else they capture.
Just down that track is Bullhole Farm, and that is where Elizabeth Southern's Demdike turned the milk sour, and that was one of the pieces of evidence that were used against her. She turned the milk sour. Bullhole Farm is said to be extremely haunted, and we can't get access to it. It's impossible.
Turn the milk sour. I mean, it's very easy for milk to go sour if it's left out. So how is that anything to do with witchcraft or paranormal? Milk does go sour naturally. Especially if left in, you know, the wrong conditions.
But this whole valley here ahead of us is the real epicenter of the Pendle Witch story. Caravan, if I'm going to wind down your window there. If you just look over to the far end, and if you point up towards that house there, that is Tyndale Barn. Now, guys, we have to talk about Tyndale because it's very important that we cover this. Tyndale Farm, or Tyndale Barn as it was back then, was what featured on Most Haunted Live. Guys, this is nothing to do with the Pendle Witch trials. That property there is a 1750 property. It is over a century later than the Pendle Witch trials. Everything that happened was not real, it was fake. It's an interesting property. I've been into that property. I've had a look round. It's now family owned. But what happened in Most Haunted Live back in, I think it was 2007, none of that was real, guys. I'm very sorry to break that news to everybody.
Yeah, but how can you call out Most Haunted for being fake when you have just faked something as well? So I think you need to get down off your high horse here, because you're just as full of shit as Most Haunted was.
Something happened in the valley to my right hand side back in the 1600s. Many believe the Pendle Witches were innocent. This is what I believe as well. The Pendle Witches were innocent. But I don't believe all of them were innocent. I actually believe that certainly the likes of old Demdike and Anne Whittle and Chattox did dabble in some sort of satanic worship maybe, or what would have been deemed to be witchcraft. And the rest of the people got tied up in that. But what was happening here was...
I mean, what do you think about witchcraft, guys? I think it's just a load of old hocus pocus, really. We had a taster of it in my last video, the Sam and Colby debunk. They brought along a witch with them, and they did a ritual to summon the devil. And apparently they did summon the devil because there was a moth flying around them, which they said was a sign that the devil was there. And to be fair, in that video, nothing happened in their video. Considering they had just summoned the devil, the amount of activity they got was absolute zilch. Yes, they had devices going off, but it was all explainable. Every single thing was explainable that happened in that video. But back in the 1600s, people were really gullible. People would believe in anything. People were very religious back then as well. So, yeah, I can see why women acting strangely, like trying to do rituals, and I could see why people found them as a threat. But yeah, you didn't have to go executing 10 of them. I think that was a bit harsh.
A series of paranormal phenomena. Something happened in this valley to create that story. All these reports of animals that were familiars, the black dogs, the hares. Yes, 17th century superstition plays such a massive part in the story.
And that's bingo. That's exactly what I was about to get to. It's just all superstition, all myths, legends, wives' tales, and nothing more. And nothing more. I mean, I still would love to go to the Pendle area and investigate perhaps some of the land and some of the properties that are directly linked to the witches and the families around it. But yeah, the My Haunted Project's location, not so much, especially after we've just seen them faking an apparition.
Did Elizabeth Southerns, did Anne Whittle and Chattox take part in satanic worship, and did it create some kind of paranormal, dark paranormal activity in this entire area? You have to ask yourself that question.
So we'll just...
My strong guess is no.
Coming up now, guys, to Newchurch, one of the main parts here, and what's quite fascinating is on the right here we've got St Mary's Church, an absolute key area when it comes to Pendle. And then just up here as well we have the famous witch shop as well, which many people have come here to visit. You can't help but feel the atmosphere change as you enter Pendle. Just the whole area in general has this unusual feel and vibe to it.
And that unusual feel and vibe is all to do with, you know, the hundreds of stories that have been told. I mean, if you drive into a place that's known to be, you know, haunted AF, then you are gonna have these feelings. You are gonna feel a bit creeped out. You know, these old villages, they definitely have a vibe to them, and especially when you're driving through them at night, which I have many a time. They are really creepy. But again, you know, these stories that have been told over the years, I mean, you get one person telling one story, then the other person relays that story to somebody else slightly different, and then that person tells another person that story, you know, slightly different, and before you know it, you know, you've got a far more far-fetched story than, you know, how it began. So that is, you know, that is my guess on how all these stories came about. They just get misconstrued over time, and yeah, it ends up sounding a lot more scary and paranormal than it started.
It's very important to talk about the Nutter grave, Alice Nutter.
Yes.
There is the Nutter grave in St. Mary's Cemetery. Now, we're not going to go and film there because I actually find it quite disrespectful filming in a graveyard. But the Nutter grave, I do not for 1 second believe it contains the body of Alice Nutter.
I mean, a witch would not be buried in a cemetery, so she wouldn't be buried there. And, you know, you won't investigate a graveyard because you think it's disrespectful. Well, don't you think it's disrespectful that you're shitting on people's beliefs here by buying a location in a supposed haunted area, faking activity so you can sell tickets to your attraction? I think that's pretty disrespectful as well.
She was accused of witchcraft. She would not have been buried on holy ground. That's not what would have happened. But if you just look now, that view is absolutely phenomenal. That is Pendle Hill, guys.
I agree with you on that.
Guys, just where Danny's pointing right now, that is our farmhouse. And when we say it's on the side of Pendle Hill itself, there is your proof. That is where our farmhouse is. Now, let's talk about what we have discovered. We have a genealogist working for us right now. He's worked with us at my haunted hotel as well, and he was the guy who was able to clarify and prove the name Charles Griffith at my haunted hotel. We are seriously considering the possibility that members of the Bulcock family, Jane and John Bulcock, who were two of the accused, farmed the very land that our farmhouse sits. And if our farmhouse, which we know it was around in the late 1500s, there would have been meals taking place there. There would have been feasts. John and Jane Bulcock would have known other members of the accused. Certainly the Nutters, certainly Alison Device and Elizabeth Device, Elizabeth Southerns. They may have all been in our farmhouse. They may have all been there 400 years ago.
So essentially what he's saying there is no evidence to support the families or the witches involved at Pendle had anything to do with their farmhouse. He's just guessing. He's got no evidence whatsoever to back up any witches or any families of the witches going anywhere near that farmhouse.
And this is the things we need to prove. Now, we're just coming into Barley Caravan.
So Barley is like, it's such an intricate place, isn't it? But the amount of stories that surround this area are truly fascinating. In fact, the lane that we use to get up to our farmhouse, I've heard numerous locals say there are reports of a white lady that's been often seen walking along here.
And the white lady walking across the doorway in your faked video.
I've not witnessed this personally, but as soon as night comes around this place, the whole vibe changes here. And, you know, it's not like the place has that factor just from visual. It's a beautiful area, and I've been to so many areas that feel quite nice of an evening. This is not one of them.
Now, when we get to the foot of the hill here, the car needs to be turned into four-wheel drive just to get us up and over. Now, guys, buckle up. It's about to get rough. This is it, guys. This is where we have to take you. If you take a tumble...
Well, it's hardly off-road, is it? I'm pretty sure my Vauxhall Corsa could get up that. And that hasn't got four-wheel drive.
Down the left-hand side, there's no coming back.
It's a long way down.
It's a long way. Reports of a black dog already has been sighted here by guests. Two of our regular guests as well, who come with a very skeptical mindset. They said they saw a black dog on this land. A big, huge black dog.
I mean, is there any video footage to support that? And yeah, it could be just a dog. Why does it have to be paranormal that you see a dog running around in a field?
I've got to say, Pendle has reached a new height over the last couple of weeks here. We have saw some of the most incredible evidence that we've ever saw come from.
Jesus, the amount of people in there then. Are you supposed to conduct any type of decent investigation when you've got like 10 people sat in a room? That'd just be an absolute nightmare.
From this farmhouse since we opened in early January this year. I can't even begin to describe some of these moments that are not just being witnessed on our cameras, but on guests' equipment as well.
Are you ready? The wardrobe just moved. Guys, the wardrobe just moved. The wardrobe's just moved in this room as we've left.
No. I mean, that wardrobe door wasn't even shut. It was kind of just slightly pushed to. And you can tell the way it creaked. It was, you know, barely being held on by the, you know, the friction. It was obviously kind of slightly wedged in to the frame because it's a rickety old cupboard. And it's a rickety old house with wooden beam floor. So them standing on that floor there would have been able to shift that cupboard enough for that door to open by itself. If the door was completely closed and it opened, yeah, that would be more impressive. But the fact you could see the door was already open, it was kind of just slightly pushed in. You know, any slight movement of the floorboard that would move that cupboard would make that door spring open like that.
We've legitimately caught poltergeist activity occurring right next to guests here. Now, as always at the project here...
Yeah. You can see the crack in the door at the top here. It's not even pushed shut properly. So it's only probably just being slightly held in place and then walking on the floorboards here. I've had it happen to me before. I've been in locations, I've walked along the floor and you can hear the wardrobe rattling because of the boards are making it move. So yeah, you got to be very careful calling that out as paranormal when it's quite easily explained.
We're very skeptical, and that's how you've got to be within the paranormal. We've reviewed this. We've gone and looked at this wardrobe in person. This door does not just come open on its own. This is a really stiff door. In fact, it almost makes a loud sound when you open it. We had a chair in front of it. This door has been in this position since we opened the farmhouse, and we've never witnessed it move until now. I think a really important thing we've got to do with any evidence that comes out of any of our locations is look at this rationally and really break down what exactly has happened, and can we...
I just did break it down.
Explain it away. Now, what we witness here is a couple of guests leave. They were actually playing hide and seek, an experiment that they wanted to try to see if it would provoke any of the child activity here. And we witnessed this door clearly open a good 4 inches. Now,
there you go. So they've been messing around with the door. So they've obviously, you know, they've obviously pushed it shut and not pushed it shut properly. So, you know, they've kind of slightly wedged it shut, but not shut enough that, you know, any wobble in the room would just make it fall back open again. And you can see here, you know, that's pretty pushed right too now.
just looking at the door straight off the bat, I've tried moving around and it doesn't appear to naturally open at all.
Yeah, because it's been properly wedged in now. That's why.
When I pull the handle,
So that's how rickety it is. The handles just almost fell off.
it falls off.
Carry on, Caravan. Take 2.
Take 2. Now, when... oh my God.
Oh, brilliant.
Now, what's quite interesting here, when I pull the handle, I mean, we can see it's loose straight off the bat, but, I mean, I can see it pulling away at the top. It's almost stuck.
You were actually... you were pulling upwards then. You weren't pulling out.
That's taken quite some force to open.
Yeah, well, it will when you're pulling upwards and not pulling outwards. Idiot.
Do it again.
I mean, you can actually see that the whole top of the door moving out while the bottom is stuck here. And it really grinds before it opens.
Yeah, but if you go back to the bit where it opens up for the women, it only creaks a couple of times, which suggests, you can see anyway that it's way more open that you've got it there. But the fact it just creaks a couple of times says that it's only just slightly wedged in there. So any weight on a floorboard that would shift that wardrobe would open it.
Now, there's nothing inside here that could have fallen, could have naturally pressed against this door to make it happen. I just don't think we can explain this one, you know. I really don't. The next moment that happened, I was here.
It's easily explained, and you just don't want to explain it because you want to pass it off as paranormal. When anybody with any logic can see straight away that's what happened.
Here on Saturday night, and I had guests say to me, the door has just opened.
Oh my God!
This is a pattern that we've witnessed here time and time again. Latches moving, door handles moving, and doors physically opening and closing here.
The door's moved on its own.
No, I mean, like about
that much.
It just went
Literally, straight that much. It was partly open when I just opened it.
I mean, you're in a rickety old house. You could have all the doors and the windows shut, saying that there's no draft or anything, but it's not going to matter because in a rickety old house like that, there's going to be vacuums everywhere. And that's clearly what happened there. There was just like a slight vacuum which has closed a rickety old door in a rickety old house that's probably not even level. So come on, guys. It's not rocket science, is it?
I checked back the footage for this and wow, the door clearly moves a good 4 to 6 inches. And a really important thing to note here is we were literally on the hottest day of the year.
Well, let's say that was a ghost. Why would a ghost go up to a door and just go 4 to 6 inches? It doesn't make sense, does it? I mean, if it was a ghost coming in or going out, you would see the door open like that and then, shut again. But 4 to 6 inches, I'm sorry, guys. It's just a vacuum.
To say the air, not just inside but outside, was still is an understatement. I can remember specifically in the footage that this door here and the external door were both...
It can be still. I've been sat in my living room on a summer's day when it's completely still outside. But if you've got the front window open and the back door open, you can feel the stream of air coming through. Even though there's no wind outside, it creates that, you know, that suction and that vacuum and a flow of air.
Closed. And in short, it stays still for quite a prolonged time before moving a good 4 to 6 inches. Now, a beautiful thing with these cameras, many people will refer to them as orbs, but we get a lot of dust in these old buildings, and it acts as a beautiful, almost scale of how breezy it may be in one of our buildings. If we see a breeze come through, we often see this little influx of dust particles. We're not seeing that. We were on a 30-degree day. It was absolutely scorching.
Well, how are you going to see dust particles all the way over by that door on that camera? You won't be able to. It's only dust particles that, you know, that are very close to the camera lens that will pick it up.
Hottest day of the year. Looking outside on the cameras here, you can see the leaves are completely still. This is just one of those moments I don't think we can explain here. And then finally, the big one. So earlier in the night, I had a report from a guest that they had heard something. Now, we didn't really capture this on our cameras very well, but they described it as a potential scream of some sort. This was heard oddly here in the barley room and in room 3. We moved on. We took a lot of the guests home, and there was just 3 of us that stayed here for a lockdown that night. And when I woke up in the morning, I was informed of a loud scream that occurred seemingly near the window area of room 3. And when
So outside then, basically.
I checked the footage back, I was astonished.
What the fuck was that?
Yeah, it was outside. You can hear it echo. You know, there's quite a few animals that can make noises like this. You know, foxes scream, owls, barn owls definitely sound, you know, similar, if not the exact same. Let's see if I can find an example. Okay, so I've got an owl here. Let's listen to what they sound like. So, you hear that at night, outside, echoing. It sounds like a scream. I mean, any decent investigator or team would jump straight away to it being an animal, because there are animals that can make noises like that. I mean, I have foxes. I live next to a field, and some of the noises I hear at night when my window are open from the foxes screaming, it sounds fucking horrible. So why jump straight away to paranormal when there's, you know, there's many things that could be before paranormal? Because you want to sell tickets.
What was that? That was screaming. Yeah.
I've listened to this back countless times through headphones, through different audio sources to really try and narrow down what we're hearing here.
An animal. I've heard it once and I can tell what it is.
And this sounds like a human scream. We've been here since January. I've heard nothing even remotely like this from the area.
We are absolutely convinced that this is not wildlife. This is not a bird. This is not an owl.
It's an owl. How are you not convinced?
This is a human scream that happens in the middle of the night as 2 guests sleep in this building. The only staff member on site was Dan, and he was asleep in the control room at the time. And the guests informed him the following morning that they had heard a human scream coming from down outside the front of the house.
Yeah, so you just admitted it was outside. Look at all the trees here surrounding the house. And what animals are notorious for hanging around barns and wooded areas at night? Owls. What a load of shit.
Immediately jump up to the window of room 3, and there is no one here. We have security, private CCTV surveillance outside the front of this house for obvious reasons. Nothing to do with the paranormal, but purely for security. We can absolutely confirm that there was no human activity happening outside of this house or in the surrounding area at that time in the middle of the night.
That's because there wasn't any human activity. Because everyone was in bed. But what are active at night in the middle of the night? Owls.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's an owl. Now I've heard it again. It's an owl. Definitely.
What's that?
For anybody who knows Pendle Hill, for all of you investigators, paranormal enthusiasts that have been here and visited the area as a whole, you may have investigated the area, you will know that the activity here moves around. And this is what we're saying. This isn't just tied to this farmhouse. It's the activity in the area. Did our guests that night hear the residual or the intelligence?
The activity here moves around. Well, that's convenient, isn't it? Convenient for you.
Scream of one of the accused. You're all asking the question, as are we. It is our job now to recognise even more patterns and to try and prove that that is what's going on. I've investigated some of the biggest hotspots in this area, places that nobody else have ever been able to visit. Lower Wellhead Farm, Sadler's Farm, number 13 in Newchurch, which is right next to...
I mean, is that why you faked the apparition walking across the door? Because you know nobody can go into that location to film? That's my guess.
St Mary's Cemetery in Newchurch Graveyard. Pendle Woods I have investigated, and here, in our 400-year-old farmhouse, we are the only people to ever investigate here.
The fuck was that?
The breath.
Yeah, I heard that as well.
I know.
Again, that could be an owl outside.
That there are things happening in all of these original farmhouses that stood back in that era. How do you explain a woman screaming outside the front of this house? How do you explain
Owl.
These doors opening without any drafts? How do you
Vacuum. Doesn't have to be drafts.
explain the footsteps that are heard in this building? How do you explain a man...
Footsteps in the building when you've got 10 people investigating a small farmhouse.
man's voice mimicking two guests when there's no male in the room with them?
Yeah, it's really cold in here. It's like that cold.
What? Let's watch that again.
Yeah, it's really cold in here.
I mean, okay, let's say that sound was actually in that room. It was loud enough for it to have an echo. Why have these two women not even batted an eyelid? I'm not being funny, but if something in that room went ha 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 You know, really cold, ha ha ha. You'd jump out your fucking skin. So how comes they haven't reacted here?
Yeah, it's really cold in here.
I will always back that this.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they had overlaid that. I mean, listen how bad the sound quality was on that. It was really bad. But the fact that they didn't react to it, you know, says to me that that sound was probably not in that room with them.
Region of the UK here, tucked away in Lancashire, Pendle Hill, there is something not normal going on here. Something extremely paranormal is happening. And why? Why is it happening? Is it the vengeful energy of those accused, or was it happening even before any of those people were accused?
Well, in the 25 minutes I've watched of this so far, I haven't seen any paranormal activity. So, you know, for you to kind of show this in this video, this is obviously the highlights of what you've caught since you've had the place. So we've had, you know, a faked apparition, which is in a completely different house, not in this one. We've had a scream, which was an owl. We've had a door that's opened because of a vacuum in a leaky, airtight. Well, it's not even airtight, is it? In a leaky old farmhouse. And we've had a so-called EVP in a room with two women that was actually loud enough for it to echo, but the women didn't even realise it had happened and didn't even react to it. So it tells me that it was probably overlaid in post-production. So I'm sorry if this is what the My Haunted project have to offer at their Pendle Hill farmhouse, then yeah, I think I'll pass.
Is it what Demdike and Anne Chattox summoned in this area during the 1600s, and that space of a decade where the two...
Why is she stirring the pot with a rolling pin?
families were feuding, and these two elderly women sold their souls to the devil in order to receive special abilities.
Well, that's the end of that, guys. I mean, what do you think to that? Please let me know in the comments. I just think it's a haunted attraction, which to me doesn't seem haunted. And all the occurrences that have happened in their video have either been staged or it's easily explained as natural phenomena. So, so you could basically safely say all of their attractions are going to be the exact same. So, if it was me, I wouldn't be wasting my money going to any of these locations that they're involved in, because it's clearly all rubbish. So I think we'll leave it there, guys. That is my reaction to the My Haunted projects. And take care, and I will see you again on the next one.